Folks, tonight's Monday night episode of Carving Up Live couldn't be more loaded even if we tried. We've got tons to get into in the world of sports, particularly in the NFL, some Major League Baseball postseason predictions at the end of the show, but a weird game that ends in a tie between the Cowboys and Packers, why Dallas should feel fantastic despite walking out with a loss. It's a tie, it's not too bad. And Dak Prescott did his thing against the Packers defense, and why people talking about, are the Kansas City Chiefs back? They never left, folks. This idea that they were just going to fall off the reservation and why Lamar Jackson still is owned by the great Patrick Mahomes. Also touch on the Pittsburgh Steelers, why the Steelers fans, myself included, should be happy with everybody involved, except for one man. Also get into the 49ers' devastating loss to the Jaguars, why the Niners made a mistake in paying Brock Purdy, get to that, and why the Eagles need to trade A.J. Brown. Predictions for Week 4 NFL action tonight for Major League Baseball postseason, as well as recap of Week 4 NFL action over the weekend. Carving It Up is absolutely loaded. Ladies and gentlemen, let's drop the beat, baby. Here we go. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving Up Live right here on YouTube, as well as on X, Facebook, and on Instagram. I am Bryson Carver, and I just have one question for everybody out there. It's the most rhetorical question I think I've ever asked in the history of this show, which is nearing 6 years, coming up in a few weeks. How could you not go through this weekend, the past 48 hours, and not come away loving sports? I mean, come on. Me personally, I got to admit, some of it's a bit of bias on my part, but my weekend starts Friday night. My Boston Red Sox make the postseason. Let's go Sox. Going to predict the Major League Baseball wildcard round in about 45 to 50 minutes from now, so stay tuned for that. Actually, probably more like at the top of the second hour of the show, so definitely stay tuned for that. Also get into, won't get into this. My Vols won over the weekend. Just a heart attack type of game against Mississippi State. I called it on the Vol View that it was going to be much closer than a lot of Tennessee fans thought. That's what happened. And so the Vols won. My Golden State Warriors, we added Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton. We're going to add Seth Curry. Gary Payton's back. Media Days today. Warriors just gearing up. Let's get Kuminga signed, and the Warriors will be gearing up for a finals run in 2026. Very excited about that. But tons to get into. Week 4 stuff. San Francisco, tough loss to Jacksonville. My Steelers with a great win. Very impressive win. Unlike last week against the Vikings. But I still came away pretty ticked off with one individual, and I'll get to him in about 30 to 45 minutes. Why the Eagles need to trade A.J. Brown. Touch on that in a half hour or so. And, of course, get into the Kansas City Chiefs. Rumors of the Chiefs' demise was greatly over-exaggerated, so tons to get into. But first, well, let's talk about them. We tend to lead the show off with them. Let's get right into it.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
A tie? I mean, listen. I feel like last night was like a bad ending of a great TV show. Like, I don't watch Game of Thrones, but there's a lot of Game of Thrones fans out there that were just like, what the heck was that ending? I'm a fan of a much lesser known show called Chuck, aired like almost 2 decades ago. Great show, a lot of heart, comedy, all of it. And the final episode, you're kind of scratch your head like, that's how they ended it? That's how you felt watching the Packers-Cowboys game last night. I feel like we got scammed. A great back-and-forth battle between a Super Bowl contender in Green Bay. Still feel that way about them. Touch on them in a second. And a Cowboys team that, if you are a fan of America's team, I don't know how you could come out of that game not feeling fantastic about your football team. Again, relative to expectations. I'm not saying Dallas is a Super Bowl contender. That defense won't let them. If they had a certain defensive player, who we will touch on in this segment, maybe that could have helped them last night and helped them this season. But I digress. What do I know? But the fact of the matter is this, folks. When it came down to it, Packers get off to a hot start, and it's like, oh boy, here we go. This game's going to look exactly like we all thought. Dallas' defense is awful, which, by the way, still is. Worst defensive league in terms of yards per game allowed per game this season. Over 400 yards allowed per game. So still bad. But get off to a 13-0 start, and then blocked extra point. Dallas returns it back for 2. Cowboys end up scoring on a Dak Prescott draw at the end of the half, get a turnover in Jordan Love. Dak hits George Pickens, who, to his credit, was not moping on the sideline, not threatening fans, not doing any of his nonsense. To his credit, his composure, his temperament was in a good place. Do I think it'll be sustainable? Cowboys fans today are saying, oh, we need to extend Pickens. Let's wait on that. Best number 2 receiver you had in some time? No question. Do you trust him? Just let's pump the brakes a little bit. But speaking about George Pickens being the number one receiver, and speaking about the fact there was no CeeDee Lamb, speaking of the fact that coming in this game, the Green Bay Packers were doing this, ladies and gentlemen, for the podcast audience, those listening, first in points per game allowed, which means they were excellent. 14 points per game allowed for the Packers this year. Third in total yards per game allowed. Sixth in pass yards per game allowed. Third in rush yards per game allowed. And when it was all said and done, when the moment needed to be met, without his number one receiver, with injuries on the offensive line, facing, and we'll get into the superstar pass rusher on the other side in just a moment, facing a monstrous defense. Y'all know who showed up to the party. And listen, they didn't lose the game, so I can say it. Rain Dakota Prescott. Can we show his numbers and what he did against the Packers? 4 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing, no interceptions, completed 77% of his throws against that defense. 319 yards, passer rating of 124.9, and a QBR from 0 to 100 of 94.4. What is going on? Rain Dakota Prescott. Moving and grooving, making Mahomes and Josh Allen throws down the sidelines, off balance of Jalen Tolbert, spot on the money in the red zone. Dallas did run the football effectively, and I've said from the jump, Brian Schottenheimer deserves immense credit for developing a real legit run game in Dallas, something that Mike McCarthy, good of a quarterback coach as he was never able to develop. Javonte Williams was excellent. They were able to commit to the run more than they did last week in that loss to Chicago. But it cannot be overstated. CeeDee Lamb gone. A temperamental wide receiver is your number one, who did show up. Credit to him. With 2 backup offensive linemen on the interior. Against a pass rusher who we'll talk about. That I'm seeing today, Micah Parsons didn't do anything. The heck he did. Show his numbers. Again, Pro Football Focus. 10 pressures, a sack, which, by the way, the defensive play of the game. If he doesn't sack Dak Prescott in overtime, Dak scores, and the Cowboys probably win this game. 31% pass rush win rate, and a 94.5, 0 to 100 Pro Football Focus grade. Micah Parsons was awesome. He was just neutralized by Dak Prescott, who we've always said on this show is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the sport against pressure. A touchdown, no picks, 90% completion, a $134 passing, and a rating of 152.1, darn near perfect, was Dak last night. That's why you should feel good if you're a Cowboys fan. Against that defense, and I know Packers fans are panicking, oh my God, what's happened? No. You just ran into a bad son of a gun who wears number 4 with the star in his helmet for the Dallas Cowboys, who Jerry Jones. Disagree with this first statement, totally wholeheartedly agree with the second. He was asked after the game about, why, he was asked, many different ways, the exact same question, right? Is, why did you trade Micah Parsons and still believe that your team can compete either this year or in the future? And Jerry Jones said along the lines of, because Micah Parsons isn't indispensable. I disagree with that. But Dak Prescott is indispensable. He is. It's great to hear Jerry finally give Dak love, because he's taken backhanded shots at Dak, contract negotiations a few years ago. Oh, we got a quarterback controversy in Dallas. Cooper Rush may unseat Dak. So it was nice to hear Jerry give love to Dak Prescott. It was nice to see. But at the end of the day, when the money's on the line, this man, I get the 2-point conversion on Dallas. He basically on 40 on a defense that had given up 13 to Jared Goff, 18 to Jaden Daniels, and 13, really more like 6. The Browns aren't very good. To Joe Flacco and the Browns. Shut down Detroit's offense, which has been awesome since. Shut down the Commanders' defense, which with a backup quarterback and no Terry McLaurin, still put up 27. And Dak, with backup offensive lineman on the interior, without CeeDee Lamb against that pass rusher and Micah Parsons, yes, he got help from his running game, was sensational in every way, shape, and form. And when you look at Dallas' schedule coming up, folks, this is why I say, obviously, again, people are bummed that it was a tie. Better than a loss. Dallas comes out of this game the same way they came in, 1-2, basically. But you look at moving forward. Dallas has a road game at the Jets. That's a W. Road game at the Panthers. That's a W. So Dallas, in 2 weeks, is sitting up there looking like, oh, we're 3-2. We're in good shape. CeeDee Lamb is going to be back soon. Hopefully we get Tyler Booker back in our line. The defense is what the defense is. I said coming into the season, it's being validated now. Dallas will be about a 9-10 win football team on the edge of the playoffs. Maybe they'll get in, maybe they don't. But they'll have to win games like the Cincinnati Bengals did a season ago. And folks, if they were willing, we're early on, so it's way too early to have MVP discussions. We're in September. But if this keeps up from Dak, folks, they almost gave, I won't say almost, Joe Burrow was getting MVP consideration on a 9-8 Bengals team. If Dallas makes the playoffs, and it's going to depend on what Josh Allen does, it's going to depend on what Baker Mayfield does. There's plenty of guys. We're only 4 weeks into the season. If this guy, number 4, continues this, people are acting like this is a shock, folks. And I've said this a million times. This man, in his last healthy season, almost won a league MVP, a 4-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, completion percentage in the high 60s, passer rating, I believe, was second in the NFL, did that without a number 2 receiver or a running game, with Mike McCarthy as his head coach, and won 12 games in the regular season. You're shocked that he's doing this? Oh, what do you know? Dak actually has a number 2 receiver for once. Oh, what do you know? Dak finally has a running game for the first time since his first few years in the NFL. What a shocker. He's balling out. And so if you're a Cowboys fan, you should feel the way every single organization in the NFL feels when they have an elite quarterback, which Dak obviously is. We've got a chance to win every game we play. Doesn't mean we will. Doesn't even mean we're a contender. We've got a shot with that guy behind center, with a coach who's done a pretty good job. Like I said, establish a running game. We'll have to outscore teams. We're not a Super Bowl contender by any stretch of the imagination, but he can get us to the playoffs because he's good enough to do it. With no CeeDee Lamb against that defense in Green Bay, he was out of this world great. Rain Dakota Prescott did his thing once again. As for Green Bay, look, you're 2-1. Now you're second in the division to the Detroit Lions, who have caught fire ever since the Green Bay beat Detroit back in week 1. We'll see those two on Thanksgiving. Oh, listen, Jordan Love had the end of first half turnover. He had the near just disaster. If one more second comes off the clock, I'm wearing these shades on the show talking about Dak because the Cowboys would have won the game. It would have been a disaster. Bad clock management in overtime almost cost them the game. Fortunately for Love and the Packers, pass fell incomplete. McManus hit the field goal to secure the tie. And kudos to Love for driving them into field goal range just to get it to overtime. McManus hit the long field goal, kind of redeemed himself after last week. The block kicks, all of it. But I could not help from watching that game and thinking, this guy is, listen, he is not Mahomes. We'll touch on Mahomes in a few minutes. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. Lamar was very good yesterday. Lamar's got certainly got a better track record than Dak. He has not been, as much as Dak's been asked over the course of his career to drag the Cowboys franchise, he hasn't been asked to do so as much as Joe Burrow, and Burrow got him to a Super Bowl. He's not in that upper echelon. Jalen Hurts, do I believe in my bones, if you gave Dak what you gave Hurts, that Dak would have the same result, if not more? Yes, but Hurts has done it, and I'm not going to penalize him, and I've given Jalen Hurts a lot of love on this show, as I should. After that, it's wide open. You can, after that, and I firmly believe Hurts is in that 5 spot. A lot of people don't. Whatever. For the sake of argument, let's say he is. After that, that number 6 spot, pushing into that number 5 spot, you cannot make that. You can make case guys are better than Dak. Yes, you can. You cannot make a legitimate case that one guy, head and shoulders better than Dak Prescott. You can't. What he did last night, what he's been doing this season, came that close, if not for some CeeDee Lamb drops, to being Philadelphia on the road on banner night. Had to hang 40 on the Giants just to win that game. Wasn't good against Chicago, although the 2 picks weren't on him. Well, the second pick was, but it was kind of a desperation pick. The first one, without question, was on George Pickens. And then this week against a defense that I thought was going to gobble up Dallas's offense. My bad, Dak. I underestimated you. You were sensational. And if you're a Cowboys fan today, beat the next 2 teams that you should, Jets and Panthers. Then you got a game against Washington at home. Commanders are a playoff-like team. They certainly don't have a playoff-like defense, as I said coming into the year, as we've seen through the first month. So Dallas is in really good shape right now. Obviously, coming away with a win last night would have been huge. But Rain Dakota Prescott. Oh my gosh, that was sensational. Sensational. And I think it's about time folks start giving Dak the respect that he's earned. All the chaos. I mean, just think about last night. All the chaos of Micah's in the building, and there's a lot of Packers fans in Dallas, and Jerry's doing interviews before the game, and all the hoopla and all the chaos that comes with being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. And Collinsworth, he was even talking about during the broadcast last night. Like, he is perfectly suited for the job. He is. There's almost, I feel like in years, if you look at previous history and you look moving forward in the decades to come, this is a long-term type of thing with the Cowboys quarterback position. It's almost like what we feel like we should, in theory, have as presidents. Like, you want the president of the United States to be composed, to have a sense of professionalism and statesmanship about them. It's kind of the same with the Cowboys quarterback. Ironically, America's team, right? Staubach had it, Aikman had it, Romo to a degree had it, and Dak's got it. It's almost like a prerequisite because of the chaos of the position, especially with Jerry Jones, the owner. Here was Dak after the game talking about the tie.
Trying to wrap my head around the tie. 1 second left on the clock. Felt funny. It was a great game, great competition. That's why you got to love Sundays. Great job by them. Great job by us competing. Wish we would have came out to win. Yeah, so many. Just being resilient. Obviously getting another high-scoring shootout offense. Just stayed focused. We're able to have each other's back. I mean, obviously defense didn't let them score there and, kept it to a tie, but a lot to build from.
There's a lot to build from. I think if you're a Cowboys fan, especially based on the low morale in the fan base coming into the season after the Micah trade, after what felt like kind of a bad offseason. Oh, why did we hire Schottenheimer? I got to admit, folks, Schottenheimer's done a good job through the first 4 games. He seems to be a guy to cool down. Him and Dak are kind of perfectly suited, right? Like, cool down the temperature, take a deep breath. We're good. We're going to establish the run, which Dallas, even with the backup lineman, was able to do. Great performance by the Cowboys. Unfortunately for them, they didn't come out with a win. Someone deserved to win that game. I said it on social media last night, and for a second, it looked like Dallas was going to win after Jordan Love was bungling the clock and the floor. It was tell about after the game, like, dude, like, don't ever do that again. I see my friend Alfred Parsar Jr., the host of the Metropolitan Report, and to Alfred and Mets fans out there. That was hard to watch with the Mets losing that last. I mean, the fact that the Reds lost to the Brewers made it even more painful. Like, the outcome we needed to happen did happen, and so we still got shut out 4-0 by the Miami Marlins. But Alfred is in the comments. Hopefully we'll have him on the show potentially throughout the postseason. He says, will the Carve Master apologize to Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers today? Oh, I'll apologize to one of them. I don't want to spoil the segment. I'll apologize. I don't want to say apologize. Let me back up on that. I'll give a lot of love to one of them. The other, I got a lot to say about the second individual. That was not good. And Alfred's 100% right. NFL needs to get rid of ties. Folks, we don't have them in the NBA, Major League Baseball, college football. Why do we need ties? It's an outdated concept. And so, especially with the new overtime rules where both teams are guaranteed to have possession, which this is the first rule where that's been the case in the regular season. It's been the postseason since 2022. Let this be the game. I hope NFL owners go to the competition committee and say, we need to get rid of this. Packers, Cowboys, someone deserved to win that game. Well, at least one of the offenses deserved to win that game. I disagree with Alfred. Ties just as good as the loss. Not that isn't true, only because it's basically like you came out the same way you came in. It's like it's as if nothing happened. Cowboys came in 1-2. They leave 1-2-1. Win percentage is the same. You didn't win the game. Yeah, there's no question. He says only sport with ties is baseball, and that's only for the All-Star game. Yes, but I will say the swing off in the All-Star game, I wasn't on the show at the time when that happened. I think Kyle Schwarber ended up winning the All-Star game MVP this summer. That was fun. That was really kind of like I wonder if the NBA could institute that for like an All-Star game if it's tied. I mean, basketball's different. Like, it's obviously scoring is basketball, baseball. It's night and day, but I don't know. Like, I found that really cool. So anyways, didn't think I'd get into some all-star swing-off conversations, but no, I thought it was fun. Even if the NFL did like a throw-off or something, right? Where it's first team to complete a Hail Mary wins. I don't know, something. Continue the game. Like, no ties. We don't do that. That's terrible. All right, shifting now to a dynasty. And folks, rumors of the Kansas City Chiefs' demise were greatly and predictably exaggerated. So they got the W yesterday, 37-20 against the Baltimore Ravens. And in a game, by the way, where the score does not indicate how lopsided it was. It was 37-13 until Baltimore got a late, long touchdown. Kansas City dominated really after the first drive going on. We'll touch on the Ravens. We will touch on the Ravens in just a second. But we gotta stop doing this with dynasties. Oh man, Tom Brady had a bad Monday Night Football game in Arrowhead Stadium. Man, I don't know. I know he had a great 2013, and I think Tom's done. I mean, it's over. Like Bill Belichick, just go and start the rookie Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, what are we doing? Remember that game? Patriots started 2-2 in 2014. It's Tom doesn't look the same, and it's like, don't bet against it. And Tom wasn't widely considered the GOAT at that time. He was certainly in the discussion going into the 2014 season. Don't doubt Brady. Oh man, Michael Jordan, he's in a shooting slump. He's had a couple of 5 for 20 games. Don't know if you can trust him to bounce back from this. Can the Bulls be able to come back and win a game 7 against the Pacers? Can they win a game 6 in Utah with a beat up team and Pippen isn't healthy? Yes, because you have Michael bleeping Jordan. Oh, the Golden State Warriors dynasty. I don't know if it's, now that Kevin Durant's gone, even though they won a title before KD got there, I don't know if it's ever going to be the same again. Yeah, there's this guy named Steph Curry. Don't doubt him. He's the greatest in the history of the world at what he does, and that's shoot the basketball. And he can do a lot more aside from that. And the Warriors won a title with a mid-roster that Steph was able to carry them to because he's Steph freaking Curry. And he's Patrick freaking Mahomes. Can we I'm begging those that are out there watching and listening. I'm begging. Can we please stop doubting this man? Can we see what Patrick Mahomes did yesterday? I get it. Baltimore's defense is bad, but that didn't stop a bunch of people in the media and multiple fan bases and in Vegas for favoring the darn Ravens from picking Baltimore to win the game. Can we see what Mahomes did against the Ravens? He was awesome. 4 touchdowns, no picks, 67% completion, 270 passing yards, pass rating of 124.8, QBR is 73 from 0 to 100. He also became the youngest quarterback in NFL history to ever reach 250 pass touchdowns. Just add that as one other accomplishment for what has been a sensational career, what has been the greatest start to a career at the quarterback position that we've ever seen. Is that it's almost like when you lose by the skin of your teeth against a Chargers team, by the way, before the Chargers fell apart due to injuries. I don't know. Chargers O-line's falling apart. Chargers whole team's falling apart. We'll touch on them later in the show. And then if not for a Travis Kelce drop at the goal line that turns into a 50-yard pick the other way, you probably beat Philadelphia. And then, oh man, the game looked ugly against the Giants. That was a situation where just go in the Meadowlands and get a win. Like Andy Reid, I said this last week. Andy Reid probably went in the locker room and was like, guys, just win the game and go home. Let's win the game, fly back to Kansas State, get ready for Baltimore, and get Xavier Worthy back in the lineup. And Patrick Mahomes talked about it after the game. Getting this guy back changes everything.
Yeah, he's just so explosive. I mean, you just see it when you get the football in his hands, man. It just makes the defenses have to adjust, and when they adjust, it's like he gets so much attention on him. Other guys can make plays happen, and so just having him out there, not only for his physical ability, but just the morale of the room, I thought it was huge.
Yeah, you finally have a deep threat now. Which, by the way, Mahomes, as we saw in the first few games of the year, is starting or was kind of starting to develop that with Tyquan Thornton. Now the fact in a couple weeks you get Rashee Rice back. Oh, all of a sudden, the old Kansas City Chiefs are back for the first time ever in the last couple of years since this receiving corps has been there. Hollywood Brown, who caught a touchdown yesterday, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy will be on the field together. That has yet to happen since they were on the team. They all three were teammates starting last year. And you have, the greatest postseason tight end of all time in Travis Kelce, who's still great in the red zone, still great in third down. Now, the problem with the Chiefs is they still, for the life of them, cannot run the football consistently. I was critical, and I think Brett Veach is a great GM. I was critical of him, though, in the fact that they didn't go out and draft a running back in last year's draft, in a draft that was stacked at that position. Regardless, we'll see if they address it at the deadline. Who knows? But it's almost as if a team with the best defensive coordinator, second best, it's him or Brian Flores, defensive coordinator in the league, and Steve Spagnuolo, with Chris Jones, who, by the way, God bless Chris Jones, coming in after his aunt's funeral less than an hour before the game. I know that had to be tough for him. He was really good yesterday. A good pass rush. Secondary still has some concerns outside of McDuffie, but generally, if you have that guy at DC, you have Chris Jones making quarterbacks' lives a living hell, and you got Andy Reid, the best offensive coach of the last quarter century, and Patrick Mahomes, the second greatest quarterback of all time, and a stacked receiving core once Rashee Rice gets back. It's almost as if folks panic too quickly on the Chiefs. It's almost as if a dynasty that has run the sport, gone to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls, that has won 3 of the last 6 Super Bowls. It's almost as if they were going to figure it out at some point. Oh man, the Chiefs' offense doesn't look the same. Is Patrick Mahomes as good as Josh Allen? I don't know. He's beaten him 4 times in the playoffs and outplayed him in 3 of them, played into a draw in 1 of them. I ask folks that are watching this simple question, especially with the way Baltimore is looking. We're touching the Ravens in just a moment. Across the AFC today, who do you trust more than the Chiefs? You trust Buffalo with that defense? And I love Josh. Josh has been awesome, and I think the Bills are going to be the 1 seed this year. I think Josh is going to be MVP. I love the Bills. You trust the Bills more and their 0-4 record against Patrick Mahomes in the postseason and that bad defense? You trust Sean McDermott more than Andy Reid? You trust the Chargers even before they got beat up? And I love Harbaugh, but Justin Herbert, 0 playoff wins. Patrick Mahomes, 2nd all-time in playoff wins. You trust them? You trust anybody? And I'm a believer in the Jags, not as a Super Bowl contender. You believe in the Jags, who, by the way, the Chiefs are actually playing next week, to beat them in a darn playoff game? You darn sure don't trust the Ravens. The Steelers don't have the explosiveness to keep up with the Chiefs. So yeah, they are clearly and obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, the favorites to win the AFC once again. And it's a home run bet. It is a 1,000 bet. You're batting 1,000 if you've taken the Kansas City Chiefs since 2018, the year Patrick Mahomes became the starter, to make the AFC title game. It's what they do. It's who they are. The reason, I may sound angry right now. I'm not even a Chiefs fan. I'm a Steelers fan. But I'm also a fan of dynasties. I'm a fan of sustained greatness. And anyone out there who tries to discount that, because I saw it with my Warriors. Patriots fans saw it happen with their team. Oh, they get all the calls. Oh, Brady's about to... No, he's not. No, he's not. Even Belichick fell for that, and then Brady won a Super Bowl in Tampa. Oh, man, the Bulls, I don't know. They're getting old. It's stupid. New rule. With Magic, I know some of this is revisionist because some of these guys have long retired, but with Magic's Lakers, Bird's Celtics, Montana's Niners, Jordan's Bulls, Aikman's Cowboys, Brady's Patriots, Mahomes' Chiefs, Steph's Warriors. Don't doubt them until they're done playing. Honest to God. And by the way, when they've made the last 3 Super Bowls with beat-up receiving cores, with imperfect offensive lines, the problems that folks have talked about have been there for the last 3 years, basically. And now with Rashee Rice coming back in 2 weeks, the receiving core is going to be stacked. The defense has found its way after the Chargers loss. Oh, what a shocker. They figured it out. I'm blown away at I don't know if it's because people are just dying for this to end and they're sick of it. I'm tired of the Chiefs winning. Just say that. I'd respect you more if you at least told the truth. At least I hope that's the truth. That'd be much worse if it's, I actually did think they were done. If otherwise, you're stupid. That's just a dumb football opinion. So there you go. Alfred in the comments. Then we'll talk about the Ravens. Were they coming back? Gave the offense a spark. In addition to receptions, he rushed for 43 yards on 2 attempts. Yeah, he's really explosive. He gives this offense a whole new dynamic. He was the focal point of the Chargers' game plan in week 1 in Brazil. And then Kelsey runs into his shoulder, and he's gone for the next 3 weeks, and it screws up their entire game plan. Don't bet against the greats, folks. Don't bet against Montana, Brady, Jordan, Bird, Magic, Steph, LeBron, Mahomes. Like, you lose a lot of money doing that. I'm amazed at I can't believe the Chiefs looked like. What have you been watching? Now they have Worthy back. Oh, what a shocker. He was one of the best, if not the best, postseason receiver last year. Get him back in the lineup in year 2 with a greater role. This offense is scary, and this team is scary. Here's who's not scary, the Baltimore Ravens. And they're, listen, let me back up. Back up just a little bit. So I said after their week 1 loss to the Buffalo Bills, they were cooked. I said then they're done. They're not a Super Bowl contender. I'd seen enough with John Harbaugh leading the NFL, all-time NFL coaches in blowing second half double-digit leads. So they're not good situationally. Derrick Henry has a fumbling problem, and Lamar Jackson, God bless him, great talent, 2-time MVP, I think is without question One of the 3 best quarterbacks on planet Earth. But in the big spots, and particularly against the Chiefs, he's not the same player. He is, I don't want to call him, I know a lot of people say he's the James Harden in the NFL. The only reason I hesitate to call him that is because I've seen James Harden literally quit in playoff games, in big playoff games. I've seen James Harden literally look petrified of the moment, refuse to shoot. Lamar goes down swinging. He makes a lot of mistakes, but goes down swinging. That's why he's the Aaron Judge of the NFL. All-time great regular season performer. He's bad in the postseason. He's bad in big games. And after the first drive against the Chiefs, can we show you what Lamar Jackson did? He was bad, like really bad. A touchdown and ugly interception in the first half. 60% completion, 97 pass yards, and a rating of 51. Again, I know Spags is a great DC, but with the way the offense for Baltimore has been humming all year long, 40 points in back-to-back games against the Bills and against the Browns. Browns, who, by the way, have a good defense. And then week 3 last week, putting up 30 against Detroit. Where was it? Because the moment got a little too big. And this is the reason. Listen, I went 1 for 2, and if I were a betting man, as Buffalo, you did not come through for me. I'm glad Minnesota didn't. I'm glad that I was wrong about the Vikings. Buffalo, you didn't come through for me. Regardless, this was, and I said it on Friday's show, a home run guarantee bet. I get Mahomes as a 2.5-point dog to a team he owns at home. Thank you very much. And with yesterday's loss, I just saw the stat earlier. This is going to blow your minds, folks. MVP quarterbacks versus other MVP quarterbacks. So obviously Lamar's 2-time MVP, so is Mahomes. What is the worst records of all time between MVP quarterbacks? We can show you that graphic. Matt Ryan's 0-8 against Brady. Terry Bradshaw, 10-1 against Brian Sipe. Or Brian Sipe is 1-10 against Bradshaw, is I guess the more correct way to put it. Boomer Esiason, 1-7 against Marino. Lamar Jackson, 1-6 against Mahomes. And that's where we're at. And folks, oh man, the Ravens are beat up. Folks, the Ravens were getting cooked by the Bills when they were healthy. And now Matt Abuke's gone for the year. Kyle Van Noy's out long term. Roquan Smith is injured. Wiggett, they're cooked. They can still make the postseason. Heck, they can still run down the Steelers. Knowing what Mike Tomlin does in the month of December, they can absolutely run down the Steelers to the AFC North. But as a contender, again, I've said it once. I said it in week 1. I'll say it here in week 4. Close your eyes. Can you see Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, winning 4 straight playoff games? Not if you're an objective football observer. They abandoned Derrick Henry. They're bad situationally. Derrick Henry had a fumbling problem before this game. The defense is arguably, along with Dallas, the worst in the league. They're cooked. They're not a contender at all, whatsoever. I mean, again, the Ravens are like flying cars. They're a good idea in theory. In practicality, it's not going to work. Not when you have a bad situational coach, a bad playoff quarterback, big game quarterback, and an atrocious defense. They're not a contender. There's no other way around it. All right, we're going to go to break. Appreciate everybody stopping by on this Monday. Tons to get into on the show. Thanks for stopping by to Carving It Up. When we come back, Eagles are 4-0, and they need to trade one of their best offensive players. Talk about that in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. Thanks for stopping by on this Monday. Wanted to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Tampa Bay Bucks yesterday, 31-25, in a game that Philadelphia blew the game open, 24-3. They had a block punt on Tampa after Tampa Bay's first drive, and it looks like the Eagles are going to run away with it. Then Baker gets hot. The Bucks special teams makes plays. The Eagles secondary, which I have major concerns about. I think they need to address that need at the deadline. Gave up not one, but two 70-yard plays, one to Bucky Irving, one to Emeka Egbuka, the two young guys, two young studs on that Bucks offense. But Philadelphia walks away 4-0. A.J. Brown after the game, and we can show you the tweet, actually quoted scripture, which I do appreciate. It was scripture taken out of context, which is usually something only grifter pastors do. But so I didn't appreciate that. But at least he's getting the word out there. He's got put a Bible verse on this. This was what A.J. Brown put on there. Mark chapter 6, verse 11. If you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene, shrug your shoulders, and be on your way. Now, that was Jesus talking to the disciples in terms of them spreading the word, spreading the gospel, just for those that are curious. But that's what A.J. Brown tweeted. A.J. Brown is an exceptional talent wide receiver. That goes without saying. Big, physical, great hands, great route runner, all of it. He's an exceptional receiver. You can argue maybe one of the 5 best in the NFL on his best day, which is why the Philadelphia Eagles would get a haul if they traded him, which they should. We're multiple incidents now within the last year in which the Philadelphia Eagles, on this day, a year ago, was the last time that they lost a football game in which Jalen Hurts came out healthy. So in that stretch, if Jalen Hurts starts and finishes, you win. You win every single game in the last year, had the Philadelphia Eagles. And by the way, a championship just to boot. Defending Super Bowl champions, and you're 4-0 to start this year. And we have not one, not two, not three, 4 incidents now with A.J. Brown, who evidently has an issue with not producing statistically, even though his team has been the best in football over the last year. So we just gave you that, tweeting the Bible. By the way, can we put that back up? Don't make a scene. You are by posting this just by definition, dude. And you're taking it out of context, which I don't appreciate. Either way, you remember last year? Eagles are rolling, man. They get off to a rough 2-2 start, but then Saquon goes berserk. He's on his way to winning Offensive Player of the Year, and Jalen's playing efficient football, and vibes are good. Sirianni saves his job. The defense is rolling. And they beat the Carolina Panthers. It was a closer game than most Eagles fans would have wanted, but the Eagles are, again, rolling. Hey, we're there in December. They haven't lost a game at this point after the 2-2 start, and they're feeling good about themselves. And then A.J. Brown goes to the media and says, our passing game needs work. Why? You're smoking teams. You're blowing them out. You're winning. Saquon's got it rolling. Jalen's playing good football. Sirianni's got this team going. And I gave Sirianni major credit for the fact that Philadelphia came out that very next week and dominated my Steelers in the second half. Had everybody kind of reel back in. It was like, we're good. And then the playoff game. First playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. A.J. Brown on the sideline reading a book. Why? Apparently, his explanation, the Eagles' explanation was like, well, he does that to kind of calm down. Why does he need to calm down? It was a wire-to-wire victory, if I remember correctly, against the Packers. What do you need to calm down for? Saquon's got it rolling. The defense is turning Jordan Love over 3 times. What do you need to calm down for? And third of which, so I already showed you the fourth one, obviously, with the tweet last night. The third of which might be the most damning. Maybe everybody doesn't remember this. A few days after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and not even a week after the Eagles crushed the Chiefs to win the championship, A.J. Brown put this Instagram post. After a few days, I've had time to reflect on being a champion. I tried to tell everyone, made it seem to be a champion, and unfortunately, it was short-lived. 2 days to be exact, LOL. I've never been a champion at the highest level before, but I always thought I thought my hard work would be justified by winning it all. It wasn't. My thrill for this game comes when I dominate. It's the hunt that does it for me. It's when the DB drops his head and surrender because he can't F with me. The intense battles, early morning, late night sacrifices. I love putting smiles on people's faces. Don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't what I thought it would be. It's the journey that I love the most. Back to work. All of that all the things that I've said in the last few minutes do not make A.J. Brown a bad person. Matter of fact, and I want to give him, honest to God, a lot of love for this. His advocacy for mental health has been, which is a topic I'm sure some of you out there know I'm extremely passionate about, is incredibly admirable, and I give him nothing kudos. There's a great moment where I believe he's talking to a reporter that would dealt with depression. It was a really touching kind of back and forth. It might have been when he was still in Tennessee. I can't remember exactly which. A.J. Brown's a good dude. Honest to God. Doesn't mean he's the best teammate. Eagles are rolling. Hey, why aren't you throwing me the ball? Eagles are rolling the Packers, reading a book on the sideline. Eagles win the effing Super Bowl. I actually like dominating players more than I like holding the trophy. And then yesterday, after a 4-0 start, which, to be fair, the Eagles were not good offensively in the second half of that game against Tampa. But, bruh, you got 9 targets. It's not like they ignored you. In some cases, I'm watching Jalen Hurts almost force the ball to A.J. Brown as if to appease him. As if to, okay, I don't want this guy ghosting me in the locker room after the game or saying something dumb to the media. And by the way, for those that think, oh, man, you need A.J. Brown to win a championship, do you? Do you? Because if I had to rank the most valuable members of the Philadelphia Eagles offense, it's a close 1 and 2. I'd have Jalen Hurts number 1 because he's been great when Saquon hasn't. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Lane Johnson. Then I'd probably go Jordan Mailata. 2 tackles for the Eagles. Two superstar tackles. Lane Johnson's going to the Hall of Fame. Jordan Mailata might be on that track. And then it's a toss-up between Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, and A.J. Brown. And the reason I say that is this is what he's done this year. 45th in touchdowns, 58th in catches, 64th in yards, 127th in yards per catch. And they're 4-0. And they haven't lost a game in a year in which Jalen Hurts starts and finishes. Nothing's going wrong with this team. They're defending a Super Bowl. By the way, their 4 wins coming against, as we've seen last night, a rugged Cowboys team, which Dak has had a lot of success against Eagles in his career, won that game, went to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs, turned around and came back on a great Rams team, down 19 in the fourth quarter, come back and win. And then yesterday you beat a good Tampa team on the road, a team in Tampa that has kind of had your number the last couple of years. You win that game. And it's always something. By the way, there are plenty of teams that could use A.J. A.J. Brown's a great player. I'm not using this to denigrate A.J. Brown, the player. I'm denigrating him, the teammate. Because we have a track record, we have a history of him not being satisfied with the ultimate objective of the team game. Get W's. I get if the Eagles were 1 and 3 or 2 and 2 and the passing game wasn't working. I wouldn't love the tweet, but I get it. It's like, hey, get me the ball. It'll help us win games. Buddy, them winning games is agnostic of you getting the ball. It doesn't. It doesn't affect the game whatsoever. And you still have Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, great O-line, Jalen Hurts. You still be good offensively. And you get listen, knowing Howie Roseman, it's untelling what he'd be able to pull off with the haul that you would get for A.J. Brown. Maybe a team like Denver could go after him. You put A.J. Brown with Cortland Sutton and Mims, and now you got a real passing offense. You get Bo Nix a true number 1 receiver. It clear up the cap space to a degree. This is not an essential play that the Eagles need to win a Super Bowl. It's not. He wasn't essential last year. He was good. Not essential last year. That was Saquon and Jalen in that offensive line and the defense. And then this year, he's done 9 targets. They got you involved, bruh. Jalen Hurts was forcing the ball to you in the second half. So it's ridiculous that this just continues over and over and over again. Unbelievable. Alfred, Eagles too talented offensively? Yeah, they are. And listen, some of that's been play calling. It's been a bit weird. I feel like they went too conservative in the second half. Like, I'm not saying if you're up 24-6, you just throw it all over the yard. Like, you run the ball with Saquon Barkley. You bleed the clock, which, by the way, also too, and a bit of a different subject on this game, I thought from a situational perspective, Sirianni was brilliant. And that's been a thing I've knocked him on. Like, that to me has been his biggest weak point as a coach is, gosh, and he's got to have it. Got to have it to a degree. But split-second coaching decisions, I've never been terribly impressed with his on-the-fly decision-making. I thought late, and I'm shocked that Nick Sirianni had the upper hand on Tom Brady, of all people, who was calling the game, who was like, when there were 6 seconds left and the Eagles are up 8, man, you got to be careful about punting this ball. No, take a safety, which the Eagles did, by the way. I remember, the reason I say that is because I remember the Ravens doing the exact same thing in that Super Bowl years ago against San Francisco to bleed clock when they were going to punt. So yeah, but I thought Sirianni was good. Jalen had a rough second half. Saquon, the pitch on the fake tush push was like, oh my gosh, if this is part of their offense, they're going to be unstoppable. Alfred, Brown's contract is probably incentive heavy. You're probably right. But there also is an element of, again, to go forget putting up his Instagram post from February, days after they won the Super Bowl. It's the middle part right there. I've never been a champion at the highest level before, but I thought my hard work would be justified by winning it all. It wasn't. My thrill for this game comes when I dominate. It's the hunt that does it for me. It's when the DB drops his head in surrender because he can't F with me. From a confidence standpoint, from a macho athlete competitor standpoint, I get it. That's sports, man. That is winning your one-on-one matchup. That's the name of the game from an individual perspective. But you play team sport, dude. You got a team that's trying to go back-to-back. We haven't had a back-to-back champion in the 21st century that hasn't been led by quarterbacks named Brady and Mahomes. You're trying to do something pretty darn historic. Like, what are we doing? Patrick, feels like the KD vibe in Golden State. Uber talented, but feels incomplete after winning a title. That's actually a decent comparison, Patrick. And by the way, also a team that didn't need KD to win a title. Now, again, the Eagles haven't won a title without A.J. Brown, so that's a little different. But do I think they can still compete for one without A.J. Brown? Yeah, they're 4-0, and he's done nothing this year. So, yeah, I do. And the Warriors won a title for KD, and as we found out, of course, when people stupidly wrote off the Warriors dynasty like they stupidly wrote off the Chiefs dynasty before yesterday, and the Patriots dynasty for years, is that, yeah, and then they won after KD. So that's actually a good comp by Patrick. Okay, let's shift to a more optimistic topic, I think. Depends on how you want to view it. Glass half full, glass half empty. Let's talk about my Pittsburgh Steelers. Matter of fact, let's get the terrible towel on. Terrible towel on my shoulders because I'm feeling good. It's a victory Monday. It's a victory Monday, a black and yellow Monday for Steelers Nation.
Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Yes, indeed. The Steelers, I must admit, shocked me by winning that game yesterday. And it wasn't just that they won, it's how they won. So the Steelers beat the Minnesota Vikings 24-21 yesterday, and I'll get to the ending in just a moment. But the offense, particularly the running game, was shockingly good. The offensive line had its best game, I swear, in a half decade. And that's always been one of my knocks on Steelers. Man, they cannot develop offensive lines against Brian Flores and the Vikings defense. Held up well. Now, some of that goes to the credit of their quarterback and their OC. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But Kenneth Gainwell, he was excellent. Running the football at 99 yards rushing, 5 yards of carry, more on him in just a moment. Caleb Johnson, who obviously had the gaff on the kickoff back in week 2 against Seattle, he was kind of forced into line it because Jalen Warren was out with injury. I like what I saw from the kid. Shows some twitchiness, explosiveness, but Gainwell was the story of the run game. And as for the pass game, credit where it's due. I said last week, and I showed the stat after the 14-0 start. People are like, oh, Aaron Rodgers, pass rating of 96. Yeah, look what he did after the 14-0 start. He was terrible. He had a pass rating in the 60s. He had 73 yards passing. In this game, against a Brian Flores defense that gave him hell last year. Do we have the Aaron Rodgers stat? I hope we do. Make sure we've got the Rodgers stat because I want to make sure we give him love where it's due. Hang on. We may not have it. Oh, here we go. Aaron Rodgers stat. We're pulling up right now here on the show. Again, it was a little bit of delayed handoff here. Let's go and pull up. Okay, here it is. Aaron Rodgers against the Vikings. He was pretty good. I mean, he was. A touchdown to DK Metcalf on an 80-yard scamper. I was going crazy watching that play. No interceptions. 81% completion, which, by the way, could have been higher. He missed a couple of throws, but again, solid. 200 passing yards, pass rating of 119, QBR 0 to 139. He's going to be hanging in that area of QBR. He's in, I think Aaron might be like 22nd in QBR this season because he is a limited player at this point. He doesn't move as well. The Steelers' offensive line isn't as good. Like, Aaron is not the player he used to be. That goes without saying. It's one of the reasons I thought this wouldn't work, and some leadership concerns with Aaron, which, by the way, still have concerns about that, especially late year. But as for right now, against a Brian Flores-led defense, Aaron was great. Based on what the Steelers asked him to do, based on what Arthur Smith asked him to do, he was excellent. He got the ball to DK Metcalf. He got the ball to some of the playmakers in that Steelers offense. And Aaron talked about it after the game, and then I'll get into the man that I'm really irritated today with in Pittsburgh. he talks about Kenneth Gainwell to Aaron Rodgers after the game and gave him a lot of love.
Well, I mean, there's been so much talk about how can we get DK more involved, how can we push the ball down the field more, and I said last week you got to run the football, and I think today we ran the ball pretty effectively. That Kenny Gainwell, obviously if you're a football fan, you know who he is and you followed his career, and it seemed like every time he went in the game, for me as a football fan, with Philly, it was like, man, this guy's really good. He should get more touches. So when I came here, I knew what kind of player he was. I tell him all the time, he's an absolute baller. So any opportunity he gets, man, Kenny's been great all year and make himself a lot of money.
He very well might be. Kenneth Gainwell was excellent. He was a good pickup. He was obviously with the Eagles last year, won a Super Bowl. One of two Eagles that the Steelers picked up from last year that won a Super Bowl with Philly. The other was Darius Slay. And the Steelers defense, by the way, I think it was 6 sacks on Carson Wentz. Now, some of that is Minnesota had some defensive injuries, and some of that is you got TJ Watt, and you got Keontae Benton, and Derek Harmon made plays, and so did the ageless vet himself, Cam Hayward. And the linebackers were solid. The secondary is good. Jalen Ramsey obviously had the scoop and score early, like all of those components, which by the way came back. But Jalen Ramsey was good in this game. And yet and still, I mean, I got nothing but praise for the Steelers players. I got nothing but praise for Arthur Smith. Again, against a Brian Flores defense, I feel like Arthur Smith was getting the upper hand. I feel like Aaron Rodgers with the quick as whiz release was getting the upper hand. DK Metcalf was doing his thing, especially in the first half. Running game was shockingly good and consistent. Maybe Kenneth Gainwell should be the star. I don't know. I love Jalen Warren, but who knows? The Steelers have a lead in the division. Obviously, the Browns are terrible. The Bengals are terrible if Joe Burrow's not there. And the Ravens are in flux right now. I think the Ravens they're still the Vegas favorites to win the AFC North. We're still early in the season. I'm not writing Baltimore off for the division. I'm writing them off as a contender, but not to win the AFC North. This Steelers team, as currently constructed, with the concerns at offensive line, some of those answered yesterday. They were great. That, had the best game they've had in years. With a limited quarterback who, if he's playing within a system, can still be effective. A true number one in DK Metcalf on a defense that is the highest paid defense in football. That has, I've argued for years, the best defensive player in football. In TJ Watt, a good secondary. They have the talent to be in the divisional round. They don't have a championship roster. They don't. In the AFC, they certainly don't have a championship quarterback, but they have a quarterback who can win a playoff game. Sure he can. Absolutely. Marcus Mariota's won playoff games. Tim Tebow's won playoff games. Aaron Rodgers, even at this stage, can win a playoff game with the roster he has around him, with the defense he has backing him up. Mike Tomlin's going to put a cap on how far this team can go with his just unbelievably sickening level of conservative coaching that almost cost the Steelers the football game. So Minnesota goes on this late run. They score to make it 24-21. And as a Steelers fan, like, gosh, we better not blow this. Get the onside kick. Great. Okay, let's run the football. We've done that effectively. Kenneth Gainwell, you heard Aaron Rodgers talking about Kenneth Gainwell. He was really good. Let's give him the ball. 3rd and short, stopped at the Vikings 40-yard line. Now, keep in mind, the Pittsburgh offensive line, again, I can't believe the statement's coming out of my mouth, but it's true, completely controlled the line of scrimmage for 3.5 hours. Kenneth Gainwell was averaging 5 yards a carry. Your defense was getting torched in the fourth quarter. For as great as the Steelers' defense was for 3 quarters, it was shredded by Carson Wentz in the fourth. 12 straight games, by the way, of giving up 300 yards, extends the longest active streak in the NFL. And Mike Tomlin on 4th and about that much punted. He punted with a little over a minute left. A defense that had been getting shredded. Well, Bryson, the guy stop. Greg Olsen had a great line on the broadcast yesterday morning. Greg Olsen, who does a great job calling games. He's one of my favorite, color commentators. He said something along the lines of, just because the outcome of a decision worked out for you does not make it a good decision. To use a football example last year, do you remember that Thursday night game when the Lions and Packers played? There was like 30 seconds left. Green Bay was out of timeouts. Game was tied, and Detroit was well within field goal range. and it was 4th and short, and Dan Campbell, who I love for going for it, but decided to go for it. And Jared Goff ended up stumbling on the play. Montgomery ended up getting the first down. I remember watching live like, oh my gosh, they almost blew it. And I came out the next day on the show and said, it worked. That was not a smart call by Dan Campbell. The same can be said about Mike Tomlin. And I would rather you be Dan Campbell and go down with the ship, man, we are going to come hell or high water. We're going to go with what got us here. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to go at your throat. Mike Tomlin is coaching like it's 1984 football. 1985 football instead of 2025 football. Selling for field goals in short down and distance situations with a running game that has been shockingly good. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers, when he came to the sideline, looked irritated. Aaron, I've gotten on Aaron for being passive-aggressive or whatever. I was completely on Aaron's team. Like, why aren't we going for this? I was a little irritated that Aaron didn't try and outrule Tomlin. Maybe he could have with the cachet he has as an all-time great player. Conservative coaching, not going for it on 4th down, poor clock management in previous games leading up to this one. Like, it is the Tomlin way. He's a great motivator. He's great with the media, with the quotes, standard is the standard, all that jazz. And chances are the way this year started, with as dysfunctional as the AFC North now finds itself in, yeah, that non-losing season streak probably continues. It probably does. And you ain't got jack to show for it. Aaron is what he is. If he's playing within a strict offensive system, he can still be effective. And you saw it yesterday. DK Metcalf, we know this, is a true number 1 receiver. Steelers' run game, did they find something? Be it with Kenneth Gainwell, be it with something that they did differently with their offensive line. Did they find something? Holy cow, the Steelers are back running the football. And their head coach, as he has for many, many years, almost screwed it up. The Steelers defense got to stop. But they hadn't been doing that the previous 2 drives. You know, I have been working the previous 2 drives in, 3 hours of the game. Kenneth Gainwell on that offensive line. You can't trust him to get that much. To me, that's almost a shot at the offense. That's I don't know. I don't know if he can get that, and it's going to be close. I don't know. It is this level of conservative coaching drives me up a wall, especially in 2025 NFL when that is not the thing that wins. And forget analytics. We can talk about that argument, but just in the feel of the game, momentum of the game, what's been working for you in the game. And you abandon it out of pure principle. Out of a strategy that's gotten you a grand total of 0 playoff wins in the last 9 years. As I often joke on the show, but it's true, Barack Obama was president the last time the Steelers won a playoff game. It has been that long. Based on what I've seen, there are limitations. I have outlined those clearly. They can win a playoff game. Sure, if they get the right matchup, sure they can. Absolutely. And they can even give a real contender like Buffalo with a bad defense a real run of the divisional round. They ain't if that guy's going to be continuing to screw things up. You had the perfect game, basically. Aaron was excellent. Running game was tremendous. O-line dominated the line of scrimmage. And you almost screwed it up. I have major concerns about this coach, and I have for a long time, but I think, again, the non-losing season thing, I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's, it's a streak. It shows he's never bad. Sometimes I've said this many times, sometimes you need to bottom out to be good. The Spurs, remember David Robinson got hurt? Ended up being the greatest thing that ever happened in Spurs history because I got Tim Duncan as a result of it. Sometimes you need to bottom out. What do we got up in here? This is Alfred's talking about the A.J. Brown stuff. He says, since when does the title not fulfill a player? Incredibly selfish. Sounds like he would rather win an MVP instead of a ring. He said, here comes the apology. No apology. We're 4 games in. Again, I'll always be fair. Just because I'm been critical of Aaron does not mean I will be unfair to Aaron. I did not think he played well last week. I thought he was excellent this week. You have to believe in your team. Don't be Barry Grant. No, Barry Grant Barry Grant Jr. is certainly a skeptical Mets fan, although he has reason to be after what happened yesterday. I apologize, Alfred. Patrick, the philosopher, the philosopher, talking about Aaron Rodgers, had a good game versus a team he flirted with signing with. He did. Yeah. I'll tell you, if you put Aaron in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell works with everybody, which is why I think it's a little concerning the way J.J. McCarthy has started. What do we have? Alfred, Rodgers has been better than what he expected so far. That is true. I 100% I'll give him that. Some of that is because Arthur Smith is better than I thought he would be. Maybe some of that is he had Russell Wilson at quarterback. I don't know. Maybe it's that. We got to see how it plays itself out the rest of the season. But yeah, Aaron was awesome in the Jets game. He was okay in the Seattle game. He was not good. I don't give a dang what the numbers say. I watched the game. It was dink and dunk. It was missed throws, bad interception. He was not good last week against New England. The defense bailed him out. This week he was excellent, especially given who he was facing. Brian Flores and the Vikings defense, who terrorized him last year, overseas, ironically. He was great. Metropolitan Report, Alfred. Rodgers heard you last season. He's set to make you a fan. Maybe listen, I'd be thrilled to be wrong. If Aaron turns back the clock, I don't think he's capable of it, but if he turns out the clock, great. I hope so. Okay, this is where we're going to disagree. Alfred, it's at the 50-yard line, though. 40-yard line, actually. Pin them deep and trust your defense. You don't convert, then they can potentially win or tie it and take it to OT. They could do that anyway based on how the Steelers' defense have been playing it. Tomlin's never had a losing season. That has to mean something. What's a good example? It's kind of like when the Spurs kept talking about at the end of and Greg Popovich is an all-time great coach, multi-time champion coach, unlike Tomlin. But it's kind of like when at the end in San Antonio, it was like, Popovich never not made the playoffs. It's like some of those years it might have actually been good for the Spurs to miss the playoffs just so they could acquire more talent, particularly at the end there after Kawhi Leonard left. I mean, I guess it means something if you like 9-8, 10-7 finishes. I mean, I always have this graphic. I'll always have it ready for the moment. Last 5 playoff games for the Steelers, they have started as follows. 21-0 to Jacksonville, 28-0 to the Browns, 35-7 against the Chiefs, 21-0 against the Bills, and 21-0 against the team that you should be more familiar with than anybody. Ravens-Steelers games are always close. 21-0 to start. So no, in that regard, it means absolutely nothing. Absolutely, positively nothing, Alfred. A playoff win, something. And especially in 2020, my bad, 2019, when Big Ben gets hurt, you start 0-3. And just to preserve the non-losing season streak, you give up, you throw in the trash a first-round pick to get an excellent player, Minkah Fitzpatrick, but he wasn't going to be the difference in you in winning a Super Bowl. But he would be the difference in you getting to 8-8, which they did in 2019. And that first-round pick came in a draft that featured the following quarterbacks: Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Love, Hurts. Missed out on all those guys because you just had to keep that non-losing season streak alive. Drives me absolutely insane. And he says if he breaks Landry's record, that puts him in the Hall. Yeah, very well might. He might be in the Hall already. Talking about the Hall of Fame. But it's kind of like Frank Gore's third all-time in rushing. It's like, was Frank Gore ever considered the best running back in the league? Maybe that's what Mike Tomlin is. Shout out to Patrick Brown. He's often called him the Doc Rivers of the NFL. I wouldn't go that far, only in the sense that Doc Rivers has a history of like blowing playoff series. Tomlin's just never been close in playoff series, or playoff games rather, in the last decade. I would compare player-coach comparisons a little weird, but he's almost like the Frank Gore of coaches. Like steady, consistent, you know what you're going to get. Numbers, it's kind of like those baseball players we see that played 20 years. It's like, man, they had more, this guy had more hits than a 2-time MVP. It's like, was he better at one day in his life better than that guy? No. I'm iffy about putting stat accumulators in the Hall of Fame, which is why I would not put Frank Gore in. And let's be real, it's hard to screw it up when you have that level of talent on defense. Prime Big Ben for all of those years. And now Aaron Rodgers can at least get you to a non-losing season. I'll give Aaron that. I will give Aaron Rodgers love where it's due. There's no question about it. Okay. What do we got next? I'll go ahead and take the terrible towel off. We're basically this second hour of Carving Up Live. Like I said, just loaded show. Thanks for everybody for stopping by. Feel free to chime in the comment section. Hit the subscribe button down there if you have not already subscribed to my show, Carving It Up. Subscribe to the Grid Network. Follow me on all social media platforms, which you can find down there. You see Instagram, X, TikTok, and then the 2 YouTube channels that my show broadcasts on: Carving It Up with Bryson Carver and the Grid Network. If you are a Niners fan, you may not love this segment, but I got to do it anyway. So the Niners lost yesterday to the Jacksonville Jaguars 26-21. Hit on my upset of the week. Very excited about that. Listen, Jacksonville came through for me in a way that they did not when I picked them to upset Cincinnati in week 2. That was devastating to see when Jake Browning goes 90 yards on that defense, which Jacksonville's defense, for the record, fantastic, leading the NFL in takeaways. It's one of the reasons I didn't think they have 13 takeaways in 4 games, but I did think that the Jaguars would be an excellent defense, and obviously the offense would improve. Travis Etienne was great yesterday. But on the San Francisco side, boy, they made a mistake in paying Brock Purdy. They really, John Lynch, you missed on that one, bud. That was a mistake. And I said it in the offseason. I've said for the last couple of years, Brock Purdy is a good starting quarterback in the NFL whose level of capability on his own is not indicative of the season that he put up in 2023 when he had basically an all-star team surrounding him. I hate to show the stat again, but just to, and I hate saying all of this because Brock Purdy's a good dude. Brock Purdy's a good leader. Obviously, it's a great story. And by the way, Brock Purdy was the most underpaid player in the NFL based on the production he'd given his first, his first 3 years in the NFL. I mean, man's not even making $1 million a year as a starting NFL quarterback going to NFC Championship games and Super Bowls. But with the likes, with the all-star team of McCaffrey and Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, Brock Purdy was phenomenal. If you gave San Francisco quarterback competent, anything better than Jimmy Garoppolo, who could get them to 2 NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl for crying out loud, anybody could work with this team if they're competent. Brock Purdy's much better than competent. He's a good player, and a good player in this offense with Kyle Shanahan and these weapons put up these numbers. Do we have the stat? Here it is. Look at that. 29 touchdowns, 3 picks. This is, by the way, for those that are listening, Deebo Ayuk, McCaffrey, Kittle, Trent Williams. Brock Purdy with those guys. 29 touchdowns, 3 picks, 266 pass yards per game, completes basically 70% of his throws, passer rating of 120, and a record of 13-1. That one loss was the Super Bowl against Kansas City. No shame in losing to Mahomes and the Chiefs, obviously. So aside from the Chiefs, 13-0 with those guys. But without those guys, he is an average quarterback. 29 touchdowns, 25 picks. Pass yards per game goes up, but completion percentage goes down to 65, which isn't terrible, but not great. Pass ratings, 88. It's not bad. It's certainly not 120. And he has 6 games under 500. He is 8-14. This is why I said, I remember before the Saints game, before the Niners took on the Saints, obviously they hung on against Seattle almost in spite of Purdy. And it was announced Purdy's going to be out. So Mac Jones is going to be in. And I said, this is a win-win for me. On one hand, Mac Jones can be bad. And I'm like, Mac Jones is terrible. And I've said he's been terrible. I've always, Purdy's obviously better than Mac Jones. That goes without saying. There's no question about that. But, Mac's awful. And Patrick will be in the comments making Whack Jones jokes. All good and fun. But for a deeper point, this is why I say it was a can't-lose situation for me. Either I don't want to not trash on Mac, be like, Mac's terrible. Or on the other hand, say, if Mac plays well, even Mac Jones could work in this Kyle Shanahan offense. Even Jimmy Garoppolo and all his limitations and his atrocious playoff resume could get them to 2 NFC Championship games, the Super Bowl. Mac Jones could be out here having pass ratings over 100 against the Saints, out here leading game-winning drives against a good Cardinals defense. Mac Jones, I still don't think he's that good. But he's a better fit in the Kyle Shanahan offense, kind of in the way Garoppolo was, because he's not a gunslinger. Not that Shanahan is against that per se, but that if you are a limited player, if your arm strength is not exactly to die for, if your size leaves a lot to be desired, if you have an injury history, all of which describes Brock Purdy, you've got to be a lot more precise, a lot more disciplined with what you do with the football. You can't just be out here like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and heck, recently Dak Prescott and all of these guys and just throwing it at crazy arm angles and all of those things. You've got to kind of play strictly within the offense. Aaron Rodgers is a prime example. Like Aaron Rodgers, obviously in his prime, could do whatever he wanted with the football. The arm angles, moving outside the pocket, but Aaron's an older player, doesn't move as well, and the arm strength isn't what it used to be. He has to play within a strict offense in Pittsburgh, but he can. He does that. I gave Aaron love for that. If you remember, Brock Purdy a year ago said before training camp, I want to be like Tom Brady. First of all, mistake number one, don't ever compare yourself to Brady. Number two, I want to rip people's hearts out. I want to rip the opposition's heart out. And I'm like, oh no, he's going to try and play outside of himself. And this is why I've said when the situation, you saw the stat I gave when Ayuk, McCaffrey, Debo, Trent, and Kittle. Yeah, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, and Trent Williams. If they're not all with Brock Purdy, which Debo's gone, Ayuk's hurt, so that's never going to happen again. If they're not all around him, he's just another quarterback. He's just another starting quarterback. He's a starting quarterback. He's like that Tua, Geno Smith tier. He is not in the top 10 MVP caliber like folks tried to tell me and all of us Brock Purdy truth tellers 2 years ago. And a big reason for that is when he's trailing. You saw it yesterday against Jacksonville. Boy, did you see it against Jacksonville. Is that when you need him to come up big, trailing in the second half of games, he is not a good quarterback. Show the numbers. He throws, this is a real stat, folks. When trailing in the second half in the regular season in Brock Purdy's career, he has double the interceptions he does the touchdowns. We've heard of 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. How about a 1-to-2? Unheard of. 1-to-2 touchdown interception ratio. 8 touchdowns, 16 picks, 65% completion, passer rating of 72. Trailing in the second half of games in the regular season. That's Brock Purdy. You could get that type of production more efficiently for $50 million less per season with Mac Jones. You could go to a Super Bowl and an NFC championship game with Jimmy Garoppolo and all of his limitations. Of course, Brock Purdy can make this offense look phenomenal because Brock Purdy is a solid mid-level starting NFL quarterback. He is not worth $53 million a year, which the Niners gave him this offseason. They have handicapped their franchise. They have put a rock solid ceiling on how far they can go as a squad. Now John Lynch, who's good in the draft historically, but is going to have to be almost flawless in the draft the rest of however long he's at the GM in San Francisco, which we imagine will be years to come because he's done a great job. And Kyle Shanahan, I don't know how he's going to do it. And Shanahan's not perfect. Shanahan's, I don't know what it is. This guy does not get special teams right. That's Kyle Shanahan's blind spot. Niners special teams last week, all year long, the last few years is atrocious. But the defense has gotten it right. Robert Saleh and his guys, they did their job. Trevor Lawrence didn't have a great game. Outside the one Travis Etienne run, they mostly kept the Jags running game in check, generally speaking. Christian McCaffrey was making plays and people talk about, some of those guys were... Some of those throws he could have had 4 picks in the game. He had 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a fumble. He could have legit had 4 turnovers in the game. Some of those was Jawan Jennings laying out to make a play. Some of the guys just saving him from picks. He's a good starter. But when folks try to gaslight us into saying, he's in the MVP race in 2023, I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind? Are you watching the games? This is Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams' offense. It's not Brock Purdy. And we're seeing that continue to play itself out by the day. And again, I hate to say it because I think Purdy's a good dude. Good leader. By the way, I said it earlier. The most underrated underpaid player in the league for the last few years because he famously was Mr. Irrelevant. Beyond that, now he's arguably the most overpaid player in the league. Ryan Flowers, Clutch Sports Talk, NFL matchups. Definitely check out his show, by the way, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on his YouTube channel and on the Grid's YouTube channel. He said, typical how people jump to conclusion just because he won a lot of games, but he is definitely limited physically to be an above average to be an above average to an elite quarterback, but it's the world we live in. So folks are so quick to anoint players. This is me and Ryan have had so many conversations about like one guy has a big game. Oh, he's the next. Nothing. And this shows you that Ryan is a coach. In the coaches I've interacted with, nothing drives them crazier than that. A guy or athlete has a huge game, and it's like they're the next blank. And it's like they played one game or one good game. So yeah, Ryan and I have had discussions about that. Shout out to Ryan Flowers. Check out a show tomorrow night. This is Ryan as well. Shanahan's offensive scheme just requires the quarterback to be on time and not turn over the ball. And you pair that with an effective run game and solid defense, they're going to win a lot of games. And that's exactly what happened. You can literally almost plug in any quarterback, correct, any running back in that system, and they're going to have success. And we've seen that. Outside of Trey Lance, who they didn't give much of an opportunity to after he got hurt early in his career. Yes, and again, even reports out of Niners training camp said that, oh yeah, Purdy and Darnold were vastly outplaying Trey Lance. And by the way, I was a big Trey Lance believer in the 2021 draft. I thought, oh my gosh, you put it with Kyle Shanahan, and it didn't materialize. Again, he didn't get much of a shot, but all because of the injuries, but also some of those reports coming out of camp were pretty concerning. And you saw him in stretches with Dallas, like a lot of turnovers. So there you go. I'll be back in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Thanks for everybody for tuning in, getting a ton of engagement on this Monday show. Be back in just 1 minute to discuss the rest of Week 4's NFL action, kind of go through an overview of the rest of the games, and also give predictions for the Major League Baseball playoffs in the wild card round. We got Red Sox, Yankees, baby, as well as 3 other compelling series and predictions for the 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. Coming back on Carving Up Live. Stay tuned right after the break. Be back in just a minute. Welcome back to Carve Up Live. Thanks to everybody for stopping by on this jam-packed Monday show. 2 quick orders of business before we get to Week 4 NFL action. The game, maybe it's already kicked off, maybe it's about to, but the Jets and the Dolphins are squaring off. I don't know why they put this on a Monday Night Football game. I know it's not the standalone Monday Night Football game. The other one kicks off about an hour from now, but I'll just go and reveal my pick before the game kicks off or right as the game's kicking off. That says Jets minus 2.5. That should say Jets plus 2.5, but I've got the Jets winning this game 23-20. Listen, I liked what Aaron Glenn and that offense did last week. Justin Fields is back in the lineup out of concussion protocol. Again, really uneven play for him. He was excellent against the Steelers, awful against the Bills. Ironic, he's good against a pretty good defense and bad against a bad defense. It's very confusing. But listen, I think the Jets established a good running game last week. They obviously had that crazy comeback aided by the blocked field goal against Tampa Bay last week. Aaron Glenn, I'm telling you, he's building a culture. I'm a big Aaron Glenn fan. I think to go on the road to Miami, get the W against the Dolphins here on national television, Monday Night Football. The Dolphins go to 0-4, and the Jets get their first win in the Aaron Glenn era. Again, that should say Jets plus 2.5. I apologize. This is Jets minus 2.5. But yes, I've got the Jets plus 2.5 and getting the straight up W. Second thing I wanted to say is also, remember I showed this graphic early in the show. Do we have it here? Of Dak Prescott. And listen, I've said this for years on the show. Dak does not get credit for how outstanding of a quarterback he is against pressure. We showed you last night. 1 touchdown, no picks, 90% completion, $134 passing, and a 152 rating. Shocker. Pro Football Focus just tweeted this. The highest graded quarterback under pressure this season, Dak Prescott, 90.2. He is playing, I thought 2023 was the best football of his career. He's playing almost flawlessly. Honest to God. With what he did against Philly, obviously he was out of this world great against the Giants, a team he was not lost to in 9 years. The Bears didn't have a great game. The first pick was on him. The second one was, but he was trying to force the issue down 17. And then last night against the Packers, I thought he was utterly brilliant. I thought the two best players in the field yesterday were Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons. They were both excellent. And so yeah, order business there. Let's get to a week 4 recap of what happened around the National Football League over the weekend. So how about the Giants? And how about, give him love today, Jackson Dart, a.k.a. Anakin Skywalker.
This is where the fun begins.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun in the Meadowlands yesterday. Jackson Dart leads the Giants to a 21-18 win. Bittersweet win because they lost Malik Neighbors, which was just devastating to an ACL tear. You could see he's down the right sideline going up for the ball, and it looks like he's about to he's like already starts to grab his leg as he's midair. Like he knew it immediately, which is just, it sucks. Like, the second the Giants offense has some life, and Cam Scattaboo and Robinson, all these guys, Darius Slayton, and the O-line solid, and now the best skill position player on that offense, Malik Neighbors, is gone for 2025. So hopefully he's still a young player, get the surgery, come back in 2026, hopefully better than ever. ACL tears, as we know, especially for young players, aren't exactly a death sentence. And so, yeah, hopefully he can get back in the lineup. Hopefully Jackson Dart continues to develop, but he was effective with his legs. Again, you look at the stats, you're like, 111 passing yards. He did have 54 rushing yards, pass rating of 96, which is good, but not crazy. He was efficient. He was very smart with the football. Brian Dable was very calculated, and okay, we're going to mix in some runs. We're going to get the ball to Cam Scattaboo, let him do his thing, let him barrel over people as he always does. Some quarterback keepers. That's what got Jackson Dart his first NFL touchdown in this game. So very impressed with what I saw. Dable after the game was just it reminds me, remember when Steve Nash hugged Kevin Durant? Remember when KD had that crazy game 5 against the Bucks back in 2021? And there's the famous meme of Steve Nash hugging him. He's like, let's go, KD. He's like hyped beyond hyped because KD, at least for the time being, they ended up losing the series, but saved the Nets. Brian Dable looked like a kid in a candy store. I mean, he is just grinning from ear to ear. He's hugging Jackson Dart. There's an element of he wanted the kid to start week 1, but maybe he didn't think he was ready. And it goes to, listen, Collinsworth and Tirico talked about this last week on the Sunday Night Football game when they were playing the Chiefs. And I'm a little surprised that they let it slip, where they were saying, not let it slip, but said this on live television when they said, oh man, when you talk to the people with the Giants, they are just blown away by Jackson Dart. It's like, okay, they didn't have to say that. Collinsworth has an eye for talent. Collinsworth founded Pro Football Focus. Collinsworth knows the game as well as anybody. That's saying something. And against that Chargers defense, against Jesse Minter, that was impressive. Now, as for the Chargers, golly, the injuries are killing them. I mean, Joe Alt now goes down with a high ankle sprain. Who knows how long he's going to be out? And so now if you're Justin Herbert, who took some against a great Giants D-line, Abdul Carter was great. Brian Burns just took some shots over the course of that game yesterday. And so now if you're Chargers, how do you sustain the injuries? Who does LA have next week? They've got, afternoon game. They're at home against the Washington Commanders. So Washington does not have a good defense. So that's an opportunity for them to bounce back. But tough loss for the Chargers, and a lot of tough loss for them in terms of the injury department. As for the Giants, one game in, he had a good preseason. Collinsworth and Tirico said it last week. Giants people are raving about him. Looked pretty good. First start in the NFL. Used his legs, efficient with the football, didn't turn it over. Dable was just, beside himself, excited after the game. So very impressed with what I saw from the young rookie, Jackson Dart. This was a dud. 26-0, Texans over the Titans. Pardon my French, but Cam Mort's after the game, he said, keep it real, we're ass right now. We're bad. And they are. You can make a case that along with the Saints, the Titans are the worst team in football. Callahan's going to end up getting fired. His game management's bad. He had to give up offensive play calling duties coming into the week. It's a disaster. Cam Ward isn't seeing the field that well. He only had 108. Was it 108? Yeah, 108 passing yards in this game. Titans O-line got worked. Now, that's not surprising because the Texans' defense top to bottom is sensational. It's one of the best in football. I picked Titans plus 7.5. Never doing that again as long as Brian Callahan is the coach. But I took Titans plus 7.5 because I'm like, I don't know if Houston can separate enough just to cover that. Oh, they did. They did, especially with that Texans defense against Tennessee. They very much took care of business. Stroud was solid, but the Texans, for the time being, saved their season. They absolutely had to win that game. They can't start 0-4 and have a chance to make the playoffs. Atlanta got a big win, 34-27. Michael Penix Jr. looked excellent. Listen, there's certain defenses, the Ravens, the Cowboys, add the Commanders to that, where it's if the quarterback needs a good pick-me-up game, face the Washington Commanders. That's what Michael Penix Jr. did after a brutal Week 3 against Carolina. He spread the ball around to Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Bijan Robinson had a good game. Marcus Mariota and the Commanders' offense was better than I anticipated, given that there was no Terry McLaurin and obviously Austin Eckler's out for the year. But I had Atlanta as a 10-win team just on the outside looking in of the playoff picture. Raheem Morris has got to tighten up some screws on that defense, but I'm also a big believer in Michael Penix Jr. They've got a game in a couple weeks. They're on a bye, but they got a home game against Buffalo on national television. So that's a big-time game. As for the Washington Commanders, as I mentioned, they've got a game against the Chargers coming up next week. That should be a fun one. Hopefully Jaden Daniels and McLaurin are back for that one. Gosh darn you, Buffalo Bills. I thought it was a home run bet, and that's why the segment is not called I'm a betting man. It's called
Were I a betting man?
If I were a betting man. But I took Buffalo minus 14.5 against the Saints because I'm like, oh my God, on the road, Bills have extra rest. That offense is rolling. The Saints the Saints everything. Defense, offense, all of it is bad. Play calling's bad. Coaching's bad. And the coaching part was correct. What the heck is Kellen Moore and the Saints doing? They got an opportunity to take the lead before the half, and they run a double wide receiver pass, which ends up getting picked. That shows, listen, if you don't trust Spencer Rattler to throw on the goal line, I don't think Spencer Rattler's won a game in the NFL yet. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think he has. You're throwing it down the red zone, trying to run Philly special. You ain't the 2017 Eagles, okay? Let's win a game first before you try and get cute. But that's Kellen Moore for you. And then Brandon Staley's Saints defense obviously got worked by Josh Allen, who I thought had a great game. I think, did Kincaid have 3 touchdowns? I feel like I remember him having 3 touchdowns in this game. No, my bad. He had 1 touchdown. For some reason, I thought he had 3. But Kincaid made plays. That's back-to-back weeks now. The Bills' offense has played like a B-plus game and still put up 30. So I maintain Josh is going to be the MVP of the league. I don't think he's sensational. I know he's sensational. So Bills won. I just wish they'd have covered. Talked about Eagles, Bucks, Lions, Browns. Again, I probably should have taken Detroit minus 9.5 looking back because I said on Friday, death, taxes, and the Lions absolutely mauling overmatched opponents in the 1 o'clock window. Dan Campbell, what did y'all do to the Cleveland Browns yesterday?
Kneecap.
Boy, they did bite the Browns' kneecaps yesterday. It was close early, but Flacco threw 2 ugly interceptions. Lions ended up winning 34-10. Khalif Raymond had the long punt return for a touchdown. Detroit's offense got it going, or didn't run the football as effectively as they did against the Ravens, in large part because the Browns have a great defensive line. But listen, there's discussion today like, oh, let's go and put Dylan Gabriel in. Folks are saying that obviously so Gabriel can come in, not play well, and Shedeur Sanders gets an opportunity. I think both guys are going to start at some point. Gabriel will get the nod first. I have serious, as I said in the preseason, I have serious concerns about his physical traits. Arm doesn't blow me away, doesn't move that well. He's small. And then as for Shedeur Sanders, he has more measurables than Gabriel does. Better arm, not a great arm, but a better arm than Gabriel. Moves better than Gabriel. His pocket awareness is not good. So that's the thing you worry about, especially with the Browns offensive line that isn't great. But Lions took care of business, 34-10. If you go to Ford Field at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and the Lions are playing an overmatched opponent, you're going to get a fireworks show. You're going to get a lot of Lions points. That goes without saying. Patriots just blowing the doors off the Carolina Panthers, 42-13. Drake May, I thought, was sensational in this game. His QBR reflected that, 0-100, a QBR of 94.6, which was just a hair above Dak Prescott for the best QBR of the weekend. So shows you how well Drake May played. He was accurate with the football. Again, I said last week when they played my Steelers, when the Patriots played the Steelers, is when he has time to throw, he's excellent. He's accurate. He's on the money. He's got a lot of zip on the ball. We know this. He's starting to develop. Josh McDaniels is a good OC. He's starting to develop in more of like a refined pocket passer. We know he can run. His mobility has always been underrated, going back to North Carolina and even last year in New England in his rookie year. But very impressive. Spread the ball around. Vrabel's building a culture there in Foxborough. That was my Bryson's Bleak bet game. I took Carolina plus 5.5, but I didn't feel very good about it because the fact that New England should have beaten the Steelers last week, but also Carolina dominated Atlanta. Like, what do I do with that? And so good win for the Patriots. They've got a Sunday night football game at Buffalo next week. That is a great measuring stick game to kind of determine where are we at. If you beat Buffalo, oh my gosh, then it's, oh man, New England's going to be a playoff team this year. Like, keep that momentum going. But even if they compete, even if they lose by, let's say 7, If Drake May, against, again, a bad Bills defense, is able to hang tough with Josh Allen, make it interesting, that's that would be big for that Patriots locker room, because simply put, they've gotten mowed over by Buffalo for years now. I mean, really since Josh Allen entered his prime, or at least being an elite quarterback in the league, the Patriots have had no shot, which, again, some of that coincides with when Brady left, obviously, but in terms of the Patriots struggles. But there you go. Great win for New England. They looked excellent. The Jaguars beat the Niners. Talked about that. Jacksonville's defense, I'll say again, is excellent. Pass rush is great. Jacksonville's O-line, and some of this, listen, they were facing the Niners without Nick Bosa. I've said it since the Bengals game. They're great. Trevor is all day back there. So if he can be able to get a consistent connection with Brian Thomas Jr., obviously, Travis Hunter made a great catch in the first half. They ran the football effectively with Travis Etienne. Special teams was good for the Jaguars. Like I said before the year, they're my AFC South champion because I didn't buy Houston. Culture shock me. I'll get to them in just a second, them and the Rams. But defense is well-rounded. They've invested on that side of the football. O-line is solid. And Trevor, it's make or break year. Liam Cohen's doing a great job. And he and Salah had issues after the game. Let's put it that way. That was a heated exchange, to say the very least. Rams beating the Colts, and just, screw it. Put on the shades. Come on. Let's just for today. I called the score to a T. 27-20 was my exact score. Check Friday's show. Heck, check my Instagram post yesterday with my score predictions. I took the Rams 27-20. They got the job done, so I'll take the shades off. I don't want to overblow it, because it's not like that's an uncommon score in football. So Stafford was awesome. I mean, in the second half, we can show you the numbers. In the fourth quarter, Matt Stafford was, do we have it? Here it is, just out of this world. 2 touchdowns, no pick. The second touchdown at Tutu Atwell was just unbelievable. 2 touchdowns, no picks, 172 pass yards, 90% completion, and a perfect 158.3, folks. That is a perfect passer rating. He is truly, Matt Stafford, one of the most entertaining pocket quarterbacks that's ever played the game. You talk about Marino, Elway, Breeze is definitely the most accurate quarterback in history from the pocket, but Breeze was very mechanical. Breeze obviously was not as mobile or couldn't throw with the arm angles that Stafford could. This guy is just a technician. And as I said coming into the season, if you had told me Stafford had back problems the preseason, I wouldn't have believed you. And listen, maybe some of that was the Rams saying he's got to. What if the Rams did with Matthew Stafford what we thought the Cowboys did with Micah Parsons, where it's, Micah has a back injury, or at least I guess Micah did that, not the Cowboys, but Micah's like, I've got a back injury, but I'm saying that just so I can hold out for a new contract. And it turns out, no, Micah actually does have a back issue because he's still on injury reports. With that, I'm not saying Stafford faked it, but I'm also saying, what if the Rams did that? Just to preserve him, keep him fresh. Got a good connection with Devontae Adams, who played well. Puka Nacua is just a beast. Puka Nacua, I'm willing to say this. He is now in the discussion as the best receiver in football. I'm willing to say that. The physicality, route running, speed, he is a freak. And it's crazy. He was a mid-round draft pick looking back in 2023. I remember first game he had in his career at Seattle. It was unbelievable. And it's been all uphill ever since for him. He's been excellent. But he's in I still have Justin Jefferson number 1, but it's Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase fighting for that 2 spot. He is awesome. And obviously having Matthew Stafford helps, but he's sensational. And then finally, what a weird game yesterday between the Bears and the Raiders. So on the Vegas side, they lost this game, obviously, and Geno Smith was just, he was bad. Another multi-turnover game, 3 picks. He is not a good decision maker at the quarterback position, but the good news is for the Raiders. Number 1, Max Crosby was unreal. And Max Crosby is obviously one of the 5 best players at his position in the sport. Dominated that Bears offensive line throughout. And Chicago, as we know, has a good O-line. Had a pick early in the game. But if you're a Raiders fan, listen, Geno is what he is. But it looks like it took a second, but Ashton Genty's starting to hit. We can show you the numbers. Genty was awesome yesterday against the Bears. 21 carries, $138, a rush touchdown. He had 2 receiving touchdowns, 6.6 yards per carry. Broke off a long one early. Like I said last week in the game against Washington, when he lowered his shoulder into a guy, it's like, okay, he's starting to find his feel a little bit more after a quiet first 2 weeks of the season. Didn't play very well against New England week 1. Didn't do much against the Chargers week 2. But this kid is, I thought Amari Hampton was the best running back in the draft, even over Genty. And Hampton was great yesterday against the Giants and is starting to come into his own as well. Genty was tremendous. On the Chicago side, That was, I said last week in that game against the Cowboys, when Caleb had an almost perfect pass rating, 4 touchdowns, no picks, all of it. And people are like, it's because Dallas defense is bad. I'm like, yeah, of course that has something to do. A lot to do with it. The Dallas secondary especially is terrible. But you need a launching point. And I said this coming into the season. When the reports were coming out of Bears camp, the fit between Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, it's not great. There's a disconnect there. Caleb is, Ben kind of took shots at Caleb at times in the press conference. And I said, it's all good. Ben's a brilliant offensive coach. Caleb is an incredibly talented quarterback. But they've never worked with a coach/quarterback, depending on who you're talking about, like the other. And that by midseason, I said, Halloween, early November, you're going to start to see it kind of click. Big game last week against a bad defense. Did what you were supposed to do. You were great. In the case of Caleb Williams. In this game against the Raiders, you look at the stat sheet, and you're like, passer rating of 73. He had the pick, obviously, early on to Max Crosby. Completion percentage, not amazing. But when it was all said and done, money on the line, need a touchdown to win the game. Caleb was nails. Caleb stood in there. Caleb took shots. Throws the go-ahead touchdown. Rome Odunze is continued to emerge as their true number one receiver, which they hoped he would be out of Washington when they took him in the first round last year. He's starting, again, I said this, he's starting to put together. Take the hits, stand in the pocket, make throws when Max Crosby is just coming at you at 1,000 miles an hour. And Ben Johnson, he's building a culture in Chicago. Now the Bears are 2-2. Now they've got a game 2 weeks from now on the road in Washington, the site of the crime last year in the Hail Mary game. Tyreek Stevenson, we remember how that played itself out. Big revenge spot for the Bears. I had them as a playoff team coming in. I said that Caleb and Ben Johnson would get this figured out late October, early November. You're starting to see some of those pieces come together. Caleb still got some accuracy issues I worry about. He missed some throws yesterday. But when the moment counted, he stepped up. And that's a game-winning drive this week. Great, dominant performance last week. Starting to see it come together. So great dub for the Bears and great performance when it mattered by Caleb Williams. Okay, shifting gears to Matt. Actually, let's do baseball at the end of the show. We got a game today tonight rather. One game's kicked off, Jets and Dolphins. The Dolphins are up 3-0, but the Jets looks like they got an opportunity to score. They've got oh my gosh, they fumbled. Oh boy. Jets had an opportunity to score and Miami just recovered. So that's tough. I had the Jets winning this game, so we'll see how it plays itself out. Bengals Broncos is tonight at 8:15, so a little less, about 45 minutes from now-ish. So here's the thing. I'm not crazy about Denver minus 7.5, but there's an element of Sean Payton, who's very much a hard-nosed, old-school, get-in-your-grill type of coach. After losing the last two, and even after the first performance of the season against Tennessee, when Denver did not play well at all and still won the game because the Titans are terrible, it feels like he'll be able to kind of get in their grill, especially after they lost a game against the Colts they shouldn't have, didn't play against Tennessee in week 1, and then last week, the poor execution late against the Chargers, Bo Nix missing those deep balls. We talked about pick-me-up defenses, Cowboys, Ravens, Commanders. You can add the Cincinnati Bengals to that group. Their defense is dreadfully bad, which we said coming into the season would be the case. Jake Browning in Mile High. I expect to be better than he was last week, which isn't saying much because Minnesota's defense and secondary just ate him for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So Cincinnati's going to be looked to getting their first win without Joe Burrow. I think it's close. Denver pulls away late. They established the running game with R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins. Again, I don't love minus 7.5, but I'll take it 27-17. Broncos get a much-needed win. Denver cannot start 1-3, especially in the division they're in. So Broncos win this game, gets 2-2, 27-17 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, with that said, we've got playoff baseball, baby. Let's go. Come on. We've got playoff baseball starting tomorrow. I might as well put on my Red Sox cap because obviously for the first time since 2021, and only the second time since the Red Sox last World Series title back in 2018, the Sox made the playoffs, and fittingly so, on a Friday night in the Green City Connect uniforms, which a bunch of Red Sox fans hated on. I did not appreciate it. I love those uniforms. They match with the green monster. Love them. I cannot find the green hat on Fanatics. Fanatics, get on that. I cannot find it on the website. Regardless, Cedar Rafaela walking it off. Of course he did. He's been the clutch king for the Sox this year. Red Sox, by the way, lead baseball in terms of walk-off wins this year. So we'll get to them in just a moment. But do we have the kind of intense playoff music going on right now? Here we go. Playoff predictions, Major League Baseball wild card. Here we go. All right. We'll start in the American League. You got an AL Central matchup between the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Guardians. Cleveland, who was down 15 and a half games, 15 and a half back of the Tigers at one point this year. Late August, Detroit had a 12 and a half game lead for the American League Central. They were in the running to get the top seed in the American League over Toronto, over Seattle, and just had a collapse of collapses. If Houston had just taken care of business and Mike Trout not done Mike Trout things on Friday night, Houston would have been in the playoffs and Detroit would have missed the whole thing. So at least you got in the dance, at least you got an opportunity. Riley Green, the whole crew, they've got to win game one in Cleveland because they've got their ace on the mound, the Detroit Tigers, and obviously Skubal Williams on the mound for the Cleveland Guardians. Listen, in October we know it's not necessarily the best team that wins the World Series. It's the hottest team. Baseball is a momentum sport. Baseball is a rhythm sport. There's a certain vibe in the ballpark, and as it gets chilly in October, and the Cleveland Guardians have that. And I don't hate on Cleveland. I don't say hate on Cleveland. I get on Cleveland all the time. But to their credit, ALCS appearance last year. This year, get hot when it matters. Stealing the AL Central from the Detroit Tigers. I think there is a psychological edge of, we just ran you down over the course of the last month. We got y'all. Give me the Guardians. It's a best-of-3 series in a 2-0 sweep over the Detroit Tigers. That will send Cleveland to the division series where they'll take on the Seattle Mariners. That'll be a very, very interesting matchup. Seattle, to me, right now is the favorite to win the American League, in my opinion. They certainly had the AL MVP in Cal Raleigh, but I've got the Cleveland Guardians winning the series 2-0 over the Detroit Tigers. To the National League now. You've got the San Diego Padres against the Chicago Cubs. Obviously, those games are going to be at historic Wrigley Field. Cubs in the postseason for the first time in a while. Padres back in it. They've had a lot of success over the last few years. They were the only team back in 2024 to push the Dodgers, not just one, but 2 elimination games. Mets were only able to take the Dodgers 6 in the NLCS, and then obviously the Yankees. It was a close gentleman's sweep, but nonetheless, a gentleman's sweep. The Dodgers took care of business in the Fall Classic. So as for the Padres, we know their pitching staff is excellent. We know the lineup of Tatis and Machado and all the superstars they've got in that lineup. I think experience is going to play a big factor. Craig Counsell, to his credit, has done a great job with this Cubs team since taking over the job. They've spent money in free agency. All these guys that they've been able to add to the squad over the course of last offseason. It's paid dividends this year, coming up just short of the Milwaukee Brewers for the NL Central. But I believe in experience. I believe in pitching. That favors the San Diego Padres. So give me San Diego to win the series. I think it goes the distance. I do think it goes to a Game 3 on Thursday. But the Padres end up winning the series 2-1 over the Chicago Cubs. I'm going to skip the other American League series for the end. I'm sure you guys know why. The other NL series. The Cincinnati Reds in the postseason, their first true postseason experience for the first time in over a decade. Being able to run down the New York Mets, who... Shout out to my guys, Alfred Parsons Jr., Barry Grant Jr., diehard Mets fans. Hated to see that the team collapsed the way that it did, especially after having a $300 million payroll. Now, Polar Bear Pete Alonso. I hope Pete Alonso doesn't leave. I know I'm getting off topic on the Mets. Alfred, for your sake, if you're watching and listening, friend of the Metropolitan Report, Pete Alonso, for Alfred's sake, stay in New York. Stay in Queens. Or come to the Red Sox. You can do that as well. Either way, the Cincinnati Reds running down the Mets, end up winning, or not winning the division, but getting the last wild card spot. They end up losing to the Brewers yesterday, but the Mets lost as well, so Cincinnati got in via the tiebreaker. And they've got a challenge on their hands against the defending World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, who obviously are favored to win the series. So the thing that concerns me about LA the most is relief pitching. If there's any chance the Reds can pull off the upset, it's going to have to be in the late inning stretches. I don't trust the Dodgers back in their bullpen. I do trust Shohei Ohtani, who should be the runaway National League MVP. 55 homers. Now he's probably going to get his first postseason action on the mound for the first time in his career. Not that there was a monkey on his back for Shohei to win a title because he was with the Angels for so long, but now that you got the title, you got multiple MVPs. Shohei Ohtani's playing with house money. So I think he has I'm saying at least one homer. I would love to see the series go to a game 3 because I love Ellie De La Cruz. I think he's one of the most electrifying players in Major League Baseball. But I've got the Dodgers doing what they need to do, take care of business in the 2-0 series, which would send them to the NLDS to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. How good is that? Dodgers, Phillies. Oh, give me that in a bag of chips, and you got yourself a real postseason series. So there you go. By the way, if the Padres win, which I think they will, I think it'll go the distance to a game 3 at Wrigley, and unfortunately for the Cubs fans, the Padres will get it done. That would send San Diego to the NLDS, where they would take on the Milwaukee Brewers. So that's a fun series as well. A lot of great pitching. All right, for the main attraction. Let me take a drink of water. For the main attraction, it's a shame we couldn't get it a little bit later than this, but alas, how could I ever complain when we get a matchup in the greatest rivalry in the history of American team sports? Just, you say the words, and everybody knows what you're talking about. Red Sox, Yankees. There's just like an aura about it. There's a history. We all know about the curse of the Bambino, which the Sox broke in 2004 famously. They made yet another documentary about it recently, coming back from 3-0 down. And by the way, since that fateful 19-8 Game 3 loss back in 2004 against the New York Yankees, the Boston Red Sox have lost a grand total of 1 postseason game against the Yanks. Obviously, the 4 straight dubs in 2004 to make the historic comeback. They wouldn't play again until in the postseason until 2018 when the Sox best-of-5 series, 1-4, closed it out at Yankee Stadium. And then in 2021, in the wild card game, that was the last time it was a wild card game at Fenway Park, getting the W in that spot. And if you look at this season, at Fenway Park, the Sox are 4-2. Well, it's not me at Fenway Park, so what does that matter, Bryson? Well, it matters just because they've owned the Yankees, regardless of location. Because at Yankee Stadium, the Sox are 5-2 against the so-called Bronx Bombers. By the way, they've outscored the Yankees 47-34 in Yankee Stadium. Safe to say that ballpark has been very, very kind to Boston. You got Garrett Crochet, VFL, by the way. Garrett Crochet, who should be the American League Cy Young of the Year. There's no question about it. Garrett Crochet on the mound in Game 1. Brian Bayo in Game 2. Game 2, obviously facing Rodon. You got to win. Game 1's a must-win for the Sox. There's no questions asked. And they'll take Game 1. They're not losing on Crochet Day. That's not going to happen. And then they'll sweep the series. Give me the Sox in a sweep, baby. 2-0 over the New York Yankees. And the Red Sox advance for an ALDS series against their division rival, the Toronto Blue Jays. Yankees, get out of here. I want to see Big Papi on national television saying,
The Yankees lose.
So I do. All I want is, oh my gosh. Friday's show, the Sox, especially if they sweep. But Friday's show, we're going to have a lot of fun on carving it up. Oh my goodness. To my friends Mike Guido, John Rivera, both of which dear friends of mine. I love those guys. They may not want to tune in. Yankees Nation, you may not want to tune in to Carving Up Live. If the Red Sox get it done against the Yankees, ain't no if. We gonna get it done. 47-34 has been the run disparity between the Sox and the Yankees at Yankee Stadium in 2025. We've owned them all season long. Get it done. Crochet in Game 1. Bayo in Game 2. Jaron Duran, you do your thing. Trevor Story, you do your thing. Alex Bregman, you keep adding to your solid playoff resume. Alex Cora, same with you. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for Friday's show if we get it done. Let's go, Sox. Let's go. Let's get them Yankees out of here. Let's get the Yankees out of here.
The Yankees lose.
I have to see that. All right. Listen, I said that the show would be loaded today. I didn't lie. We had a nearly 2-hour episode of Carving Up Live, which is usually on Mondays during football season. It's hour and a half. But as we are entering the greatest month in the world in sports, October, as we're on the dawn of a WNBA Finals, Phoenix Mercury made it. Now, Caitlin Clark's team, the Indiana Fever, might make it without her against the Vegas Aces, led by the best women's player alive, Asia Wilson. So great WNBA playoff action. Very excited for Game 5 between the Aces and Fever. But October, mid-season NFL and college football. NBA comes back. You see NBA Media Day kind of going on right now. The Warriors are having it. Lakers are having it. A bunch of other teams. NBA starts back. If you're a hockey fan, hockey starts back. WNBA Finals. Postseason baseball. October is the best. So we're going to probably have a lot more of these longer form shows as we enter the greatest month on the sports calendar, the beautiful month of October. So with that, that's all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube, as well as on X, Instagram, and on Facebook. So much fun today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in the comment section, for liking, sharing, commenting. Please take 2 seconds out of your day and hit that big red subscribe button down there. If you're on the Carving Up YouTube channel, please subscribe there. It helps the channel grow exponentially. And please do the same for the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network, right here on YouTube, as well as any and everywhere that you get your favorite podcasts. You can find us at the Grid Network. We got some amazing content creators. Also, be sure to check out the Saturday morning tailgate. We had a great show this past weekend. Myself, Tim Barnard, Arthur Hurst, kicking off your college football Saturday morning tailgate every Saturday, obviously, at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time. That's on the Grid's YouTube channel and X account. We have a lot of fun on the show. It's great. It's a classic way to get your Saturday morning started on for your college football weekend. And by the way, great CFB weekend, which I'm sure we'll get into this week. See you guys on Wednesday. Here's to postseason baseball, and here's for the Red Sox just taking it to them Yankees. Have a great week, everybody. See y'all on Wednesday. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. Put it to them, Red Sox. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.